Hello everyone, welcome to this new episode of Photobag Magazine. Every first Saturday of the month, I'll be offering a review of my photography gear in practice, summarizing news from the brands I use, from my partners, and my work schedule. My comments are solely my own. The products featured are not sponsored unless I specifically mention it. I'd be delighted to engage with you in a constructive spirit. Trolls and grumblers will be systematically banished. In this episode, we'll see how understanding your photographic style helps you improve. We'll meet Edward Weston and Raymond Depardon, and we'll see if upgrading your equipment is essential with the release of the Canon EOS R6 Mark III. Many of us have developed photographic expertise empirically. No formal theoretical training, but a step-by-step, on-the-ground learning process. For my part, I have consciously practiced photography, meaning I have put an intention into my images, since 1984. Day after day, image after image, my style has become refined. This is how, today, I define myself primarily as a landscape and street photographer. I never analyzed my style beyond that, and it was only very recently that I understood. I understood what others saw in my images, a strong emphasis on technique during shooting or in post-production, balanced images and often minimalist compositions. Landscapes that erase the human presence as much as possible. Of course, among the 12,000 photos that make up my digital library, not all images meet these criteria, but I realize that I mostly align with the style championed by the F64 group, namely, pure photography. Let's look back at the major movements that have shaped our art. The history of stylistic movements begins with the birth of photography, officially in 1839 with the daguerreotype. In the early days of photography, the main concern was to have it accepted as an art form. Photographers sought to imitate painting and traditional graphic arts. This was the birth of pictorialism, to transfigure reality to evoke emotion and subjectivity. Allegorical subjects, misty landscapes, and portraits with soft atmospheres were favored. Pictorialists manipulated the image to erase details considered too mechanical.
The pictorialists, as they became known, intervened in the photographic process by smearing Vaseline on their lenses, or in the darkroom afterwards by scratching the negative, or painting chemicals on their prints to simulate brushstrokes. The aim was to make photography a handmade process, like the other arts.
The pictorialist photographs looked like art. Quite literally. They looked like paintings. They looked like drawings. They looked like beautiful, rich prints. They were meant to have chiaroscuro. They were meant to have darkness. They were meant to have a kind of sketchiness.
The beginning of the 20th century saw a strong reaction against the artificiality of pictorialism. Photography had to claim its distinct nature and intrinsic strength as a medium. Led by Alfred Stieglitz after he abandoned pictorialism, straight photography or pure photography advocated fidelity to reality. Photography must be sharp focus, without manipulation, and celebrate the precision of optical rendering. The style focuses on pure forms and precise details, whether in industrial architecture, nudes, or everyday objects like Edward Weston's famous peppers, as we'll see on the next chapter. Alfred Stieglitz, Paul Strand, Edward Weston, and the F-64 group with Ansel Adams on the West Coast, obsessed with great depth of field.
Strand realized that the camera had a unique ability to capture shapes and forms simply, directly, and in sharp focus. The modernist movement he pioneered was called simply straight photography.
And that aesthetic became the aesthetic of the 20s. It meant that you took things the way they were and you did not manipulate them in the darkroom. The picture was supposed to look the way it looked in your viewfinder. The camera was supposed to be clearly focused. You were supposed to face reality, not muck around with it.
Instead of distorting the image or manipulating the print afterwards, Strand would emphasize the selection and framing of the picture. The art would depend on the eye of the photographer.
The exhibition Edward Weston, Modernité révélée, Modernity Revealed, at the Maison Européenne de la Photographie, MEP, is a major retrospective celebrating the American photographer, 1886-1958, as one of the founding fathers of modernist photography and straight photography. One of the major focal points of the exhibition is highlighting the radical shift Weston underwent in the early 1920s. In his early years, Weston adhered to the dominant style of the time, pictorialism, which aimed to imitate the aesthetics of painting, soft focus, sentimental subjects. The exhibition presents works from this period to establish a strong contrast. Influenced by figures such as Alfred Stieglitz, Paul Strand, and Charles Sheeler, Weston moved toward an aesthetic of precision and direct realism. This change is the cornerstone of the exhibition. He moved away from subjective interpretation to focus on the objective and silent revelation of form. The adoption of a large format camera, 8 or 10 inches, was essential. It allowed him to achieve extreme sharpness and a richness of detail, fully exploiting the capabilities of the photographic medium, in contrast to the artifices of painterly techniques. The exhibition recalls his central role in the founding of the 64 group in 1932 with Ansel Adams, whose name comes from the smallest aperture, f/64, that guarantees maximum depth of field and absolute sharpness. Weston did not revolutionize his subjects, nudes, still lifes, landscapes, but the way he saw them. The exhibition highlights how he transformed the ordinary into powerful forms. The highlight is his series of still lifes, notably the famous peppers, Pepper number 30, 1930. Photographed in close-up with natural, sculptural light, these vegetables are no longer simple culinary objects, but abstract and sensual organic forms, often compared to sculptures. His shots of shells, eggs, or rocks are studies of texture, contour, and the play of light on matter. The exhibition shows how he conferred an unprecedented dignity and monumentality upon them. Weston's nudes, often those of his muses and collaborators, such as Tina Modotti and Charis Wilson, are famous. He moved away from suggestive posing to treat the human body with the same formal rigor as his still lifes. The body is broken down into lines, curves, and planes, where the light reveals the plasticity of the skin and the volumes, transforming the subject into an intimate and architectural topography. His California landscapes, particularly the Point Lobos region, are characterized by an attention to the details of nature: rocks, clouds, trees. He captured the raw, non-idealized essence of the American West, free from the artifices of pictorialism. The exhibition is a tribute to Weston's lasting influence, presenting prints of exceptional quality. The focus is on the beauty of the vintage prints from the prestigious Wilson Center for Photography collection, underscoring his darkroom virtuosity and the richness of his black and white tonal range. Weston's work, as presented at the MEP, is the demonstration that a sharp, direct, and unmanipulated photograph can be an art in its own right, without needing to imitate painting or any other discipline. The MEP often chooses to anchor its retrospectives in the present. The exhibition is, moreover, presented in parallel with an exhibition by Tyler Mitchell. Weston, by finding timeless beauty in the everyday, remains incredibly relevant to contemporary photography. The exhibition, Edward Weston, Modernité Révélée, is an essential event for understanding how an artist elevated photography from the imitation of art to its status as a modern art form, by transforming the perception of the simplest object through the purity of form, light, and detail. I announced in the September vlog episode. In that episode, I mentioned that the Mémorial de la Shoah, Shoah Memorial, in Paris is dedicating an exhibition. It highlights the photo reportage that Raymond Depardon did at the Auschwitz camp at the end of the 70s. The images are displayed as very large posters glued to the wall. If they are a reflection of those forever etched in our memories, this visit was very special for me. First of all, because of the location. The Jewish community of Paris established the memorial as early as 1943. They wanted to collect proof of the extermination of their people by the German army. The memorial has evolved into a museum offering a permanent exhibition. It hosts 2 temporary exhibitions each year. It also offers numerous cultural events, meetings, screenings, testimonies. It is an archive center open to research in a place of memory and transmission. Right from the entrance to the courtyard, the visitor is immediately struck. The walls have engraved names of all the French Jews who were deported. Standing before these thousands of names conveys the dimension of the massacre. Nearly 76,000 names are inscribed. It's impossible to remain indifferent and visit this place as a simple museum. The photos taken by Depardon are displayed on the 3rd floor. They are accompanied by the contact sheets. This was a second source of emotion for me. Indeed, it is rare to discover how an image is born. Seeing how it stands out from a series is uncommon. Especially revealing are the test shots taken before achieving a satisfying result, which the author circles in red. I can only advise you to visit this exhibition if you are lucky enough to be in Paris. Access is free, and the interest is great even if you are not a photographer. The Canon EOS R6 Mark III, which was recently released, represents a significant technological leap compared to the first-generation EOS R6, released in 2020, particularly in the areas of resolution and video. Here is a detailed analysis of the advantages and disadvantages to help you decide if upgrading to the EOS R6 Mark III is worthwhile for you. The upgrade is strongly justified if you need more resolution for cropping or large format printing. Personally, I can print A3 Plus fine art pictures with the first release of the EOS R6. You shoot a lot of sports, action, or wildlife photography and require an ultra-fast burst rate. I'm mainly a landscape photographer, so I don't really need an ultra-fast burst rate. You do professional video and need 7K RAW or 4K and 120p formats with more professional options. I'm not yet. No, the upgrade is not essential if you are satisfied with the 20mm of the R6 for your uses: reportage, portrait, occasional landscape. That's what I do. You frequently shoot in very low light at extreme sensitivities, beyond ISO 25600, as the original R6 is slightly better in this area. Your budget is limited, as the R6i remains a powerful and reliable camera body. The two bodies have significant differences. About the sensor and image quality, on the EOS R6i, the resolution is 20.1 megapixels. The EOS R6 Mark III takes advantage with a 32.5 megapixels resolution. But we can find potential disadvantages of the R6 Mark III. He new 32.5 MP sensor with smaller photo sites has a less extended native ISO range, max in 64,000 ISO versus 12400 ISO for the R6i. Although results are very close up to ISO 12800, the first generation R6 may better manage noise at extremely high sensitivities, beyond ISO 25600. The R6 Mark III represents a significant investment. The money saved by keeping the R6i could be used for a high-end RF lens. To utilize the full performance, 40 FPS and 7K RAW, you will need to invest in costly CF Express Type B memory cards, in addition to SD UHS-2 cards. The dimensions and ergonomics are almost identical between the two bodies. You will not gain any weight reduction or improved handling, apart from the mode dial, which now integrates a dedicated SNF mode for video. If you primarily photograph static subjects in good light and don't print very large, the R6i is still a reliable and powerful machine. If action, high resolution, and advanced video are your priorities, the R6 Mark III is a clearly justified generational change.